Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would go through some series that I am currently in the middle of. So what I've done is I've compiled a list of all the series that I'm in the middle of that I own physically that have books currently out at the moment, and a lot of them I actually own these books in the series but I have not finished. So for example, we've got Quicksilver by Callie Hart here, and obviously Brimstone. That is not included because I'm up to date with that series, so there are just the two books. Any additional books have not yet been released, so even though yes I am in the middle of them, they're not ones that are outstanding. So that's what I've compiled a list of all the books that I am in the middle of, and I have books that I still need to catch up on. Now this is only the physical books. I haven't touched my Kindle. That is a hot mess. I am actually really bad at keeping track of these kind of things. So I'm trying to get better at that, which is why I've compiled this list for my physical books. And maybe a little bit down the line I will finally get my Kindles sorted and we can go through those. So it actually surprised me because I thought there would be more on this list, but I actually only have 10 series that I own books physically of that I'm partway through. So I thought let's just get started. I will be holding up just the first book in the series, or to show it off, and then I'll talk about it. So the first one is the Salacious Players Club. Now this is Praise, which is the first book in that series. So this is a series about a group of friends, and they all realise that they have different kinks and different wants, and decide to, initially they set up an app, but then the goal is to set up a nightclub that essentially helps people who have kinks and different, wants, desires, needs, to get together in a safe and non-judgmental way to be able to explore those things and kind of match people up with what they're looking for. So I have read two more in this series, so that's Eyes on Me and Give Me More, and then I do have 3 more books in this series that I need to read. Now I do own the whole series. They were a gift for mine and my husband's first anniversary because it is paper. He knew I loved these books, so I have the whole series gifted to me. So I'm really looking forward to getting into these. So I have been on my TBRs alternating between these and a few other books on my shelf. So I have no doubt that I will get these finished relatively quickly. So the second one is the Silo series. Now this is the first book, Wool, by Howl. So this is about, let's just say I read this book years ago. I actually can't even remember how long ago it was that I read this, but it's been years and years and years and years. So forgive me if I don't remember this correctly, but I believe that it's sort of like it's a dystopian that people are then forced to live underground in these silos, and they are told that the outside world is like toxic, and if you go out there without any protective gear you die. And I feel like potentially, if I that's maybe not correct, but again, so with this, so I have the first one, Wool, and I actually do have the second book in this series, Shift. Now I picked this up a long time ago from a charity shop, and I really enjoyed it, and it was recommended to me by a friend, so I read this. And back then, this as I said, it's been so long ago, it's sort of when I was at uni, I only bought secondhand books. I never bought books new. So I bought this because I found it in a charity shop, read it, really enjoyed it, and then was on the hunt for the second one because I never bought any books new. And I did eventually find the second book, but it had been so long since I'd read Wool, I knew I would have to reread it to then really appreciate the second book, and I'd just been putting it off. And I know that there is a third book, and I'm unsure. Let's see really quickly if it does tell me in here, but I'm not sure. No, it doesn't say. Yes, I'm pretty sure there is a third book in the series. So yes, my goal for 2026 is to reread this book and then read Shift and buy the third book and finally have this series complete, because I did really enjoy it when I read it. I was just stubborn and wouldn't buy books. Then another one, this is a relatively new one that I've had on my list, and that is the Saints of Steel series. This is the first one, Paladin's Grace. I have very recently, if you saw my book haul for April, bought the second book in the series, so it's by T. Kingfisher. So from my understanding of this, it is a series about the Saints of Steel, but it's more of an interconnected standalone, I believe. So it's about these paladins and their god has died, and it's all about that. So I'm not 100% on what the next one is, but I believe I have talked about it. And as I said, they're very cozy fantasy. They're really fun. I love them. I really love T. Kingfisher's writing style. This was actually the first T. Kingfisher book that I ever read, but I am definitely going to read more of her books. So I believe that there's 3 more in the series. So I've got the next one and there are more, and I will be reading them. It's just I wanted the second one, and every time I went into Waterstones they didn't have that one, they had all of the others. So now that I've got that one, I will be continuing this series. Then we have, which again has been featured on my channel relatively recently, and that is Howl's Moving Castle. So this is the first book in the Howl's Moving Castle series. So I have just read Castle in the Air. That is the second book, and there is one more book in this series to read, which is called The House of Many Ways, and again that will be something that I will get done hopefully relatively soon. They're really cute. This one is my absolute favorite. The second one was okay. I could take it or leave it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the third one is, as I'm not 100% on what that one's about. That you can sense a vibe here. I just kind of pick things up. But yes, really enjoyed this. This was a gift from Christmas, so again a relatively new one in the collection. Then we have Filthy Rich Vampire. So a goal of mine this year for 2026 was to actually be reading the series that I have, because I've been buying a lot of series and like at least like the first, second book in a series and hadn't even read them. So this is one that, Filthy Rich Vampire, I bought the entire series and I hadn't even started it. So I have now read 3 of these. So this is about a romance between a vampire and a human, and there are some other things that happen, but it's very typical sort of vampire romance. They're okay. I'm looking forward to getting round to the last one. So there is just one more book that I need to read for this series. So that will hopefully be coming up in the next few months. But I'm quite glad that I've managed to get the first 3 done in a short amount of time. But yes, that's another one. Then we have One of Us is Lying. So this is by Karen M. McManus. So this is the first one, and the series is called One of Us is Lying. So I've read One of Us is Lying, and I have read the second one, which is over there, but I can't remember what it's called. And the premise of this book is there are 5 students. They've all got a detention, and during this detention, one of them dies, and it's figuring out who did it, why they did it, and the whole premise of that. Now this one, again, I picked this up second hand and I did really enjoy it. I think it was interesting, and then I was actually given from my friend the second book in the series, so I read that, and I just haven't picked up the third one. So there is a third book in this series, and I think I will get it eventually. It's just not a huge priority for me. They are YA. I watched the TV series they did of it. I thought again it was fine. But yeah, I think if I happen to see it in a charity shop, I'll pick it up. If not, and I see it somewhere cheap enough, I will grab a copy of it. But I'm not overly invested in picking it up. I'll get to it eventually. We've got Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. So you may have seen, if you've watched any of my videos previously, I managed to find both the second and the third book in this exact edition in charity shops at 2 separate times. So I now have the series, the trilogy of this. So I will be reading this. I'm sure everybody knows what these are about, but this is about young children, and they have these demons that they're on the outside of their body, and they manifest as animals, and the people that there are children that are getting kidnapped, and Lyra, the main character, is trying to find out what is happening with that. So I really enjoyed this. This is one of the series that was really, really popular when I was growing up, but it kind of passed me by. So when I saw this, I picked it up, and I was pleasantly surprised. So I'm really looking forward to continuing this series. And now that I actually have the second book, I'll be able to get this completed. So we then have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I have the novella of this and the second book. I do not have the third book. Well, technically the third in the actual series. So I actually picked up the second one before I'd finished this. And firstly, I will say that the synopsis on the second book spoils what happens in this. So that really annoyed me because I hadn't finished it. And there's so much discussion about this. I was then gifted the novella, and I thought, well, why not? So this is about, obviously there's different class systems, and there's the elite, and the main character is poor, but somehow she's got there's powers, but she doesn't have any powers, and they should have killed her because of that, or something like that. And she pretends, so she's really good at pretending that she has a power. She pretends to be a psychic, and there's some trials, and there's some princes, and again, I didn't particularly enjoy it. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. I thought it was just middle of the road. But yeah, I saw the second one really, really cheap, and I just picked it up because I hadn't finished this yet. And as I said, it spoiled it for me, and that annoyed me. So that put me off wanting to then read the second one. I wasn't overly that bothered about this, but because as I said, I was gifted, my cousin gave me the novella, and I've got the second book, I think I will read them and then potentially donate them. If I read the second one and I really, really enjoy it, and I do want to continue, I think I'm just going to check if my library has the third book, and I'll just borrow it from there, just so that I can then say I completed it. But again, this is one that I'm not overly bothered about finishing, but it is one that I have. So because I've got a copy of it, I may as well read it, but it's not one that I'm gravitating to pretty quickly. Then we have the Rebel Blue Ranch series. So I had these on my shelf for a little while. I've quite recently read the first book, and then I have read the second book, so I have 2 more of these to read. Again, I got the first, third and fourth book secondhand. Didn't realise that the second book wasn't included in that, so I picked that up from Amazon. This is a cowboy romance series, and it is about a different family member in the series. So each book is about a different sibling, I believe, within this family, who all live on Rebel Blue Ranch, and their cowboy romances. I feel like they're written really well. I feel like I described them as sort of Hallmark for cowboys. I feel like they're so fun and easy to read. They're really entertaining. I feel like the characters are really great I just really enjoyed them. And these are the only cowboy romances that I've actually read. I've not read any other cowboy romance, but these ones are definitely really great. And then last, but by no means least at all, is the Cliffehaven series by Ellie Dean. Now, this is actually the 8th book in the series because I do not keep my copies of these once I finish them. They get donated. So I'm up to number 8. This is actually on my May TBR, so this is the next book that I need to read. And I actually have the rest of this series. There are 10 more books that I need to read, so it's quite a long series. So this is about a woman named Peggy. It's during World War II, and she owns a boarding house, and each book follows a different person, sometimes evacuee, just somebody locally, who comes to live at the boarding house, and it's their journey during that time. Typically a book spans a year-ish, but yeah, and it obviously follows not only the person who the book is about, but then Peggy, her family. There's a large cast of secondary characters. They're lots of interconnected, so you'll see previous people who have been in the books, been in the house, sort of seeing their progress throughout. You might see them pop it in. So yeah, these are, I believe that one of these books has been in probably almost every single one of my videos. I think possibly just one video they haven't been in, which was a haul video, because I didn't haul any of these, but yeah, so I have made a plan. So this year my goal is to read one of these books a month, because I've had these on my shelves since basically since 2020 during lockdown. I've always been a reader, but during lockdown I really started to pick reading back up because there was nothing else to do. And it got to the point, because we didn't have a lot of space, I ran out of books to read. So my nan started giving me all her World War II romances, and I just think they're really fun. So the Ellie Dean ones are my absolute favourite out of the ones I've read. So my nan gave me all of those ones so that I could read this series, and then we just donate them back because we're not precious about keeping them. So yes, I've still got quite a ways to go with 10 more books on this list, but as I said, only reading one a month. I'll get there eventually. So let me just see if I can pick up this stack. This is a visual representation using one book from each series of all of the outstanding series that I physically own. And yeah, please let me know if there are any on this list you think I should really prioritize. If there's any that you really enjoy, any that you didn't enjoy. But yes, let's see how many of these I will have at the end of the year. So yes, thank you ever so much for watching, and please do like if you like, subscribe, comment, just anything like that. I'd be really grateful. So yeah, thank you so much for watching.